Welcome back to FTW for the Win podcast. This is the greatest video game podcast in the world. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. If you enjoy the show, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and if you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating if you would. We're at 22 now, guys. We're at 22 ratings, which is really good. I had a bunch of friends who have listened to the podcast rate it for me. And so we're getting there. Please rate it. It helps people find us when they're searching for a video game podcast. And last but not least, check us out on Instagram and TikTok, social media, all that stuff. Today's sponsor of the episode is SuperScorcher.com, home of the Super Scorcher. I got mine right behind me. It's the best replica available of Elon Musk's infamous sold-out limited edition, not a flamethrower. Crafted using authentic components, this propane-powered beast shoots flames up to 6 feet with limitless customization options available. Your flamethrower can be as unique as you are. Pyromania meets playtime with Super Scorcher. Customize yours today and let the flames begin. Tell me that's not a great ad read.
That is a great ad read. Use Pyro 10 to get 10% off also.
Pyro 10. That's a good deal. I mean, for a flamethrower that costs around what? $500? $500 bucks? $50 off? I mean, come on.
That's 10% off if you add on additional customizations too. It takes it right off the whole total.
So get your flamethrower, link in the description. Super fun. I love mine. It's great. But we got some video games to talk about. John's coming at us from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Fabulous Las Vegas.
I am in California, which Henry hates, and Henry is in Washington State.
Back in Washington. Left LA,
Yeah, left LA. But a worldwide phenomenon has happened just in this last week since our last episode. If you guys remember, our very first episode ever, we talked about this little game called Palworld. Pokemon with machine guns. How does it get any better than that? Will you be playing? I definitely am. I'm interested for sure.
I don't think it's enough to get my real interest. If it turns out to be fun, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, they're leaning hard on they're hoping that the comedy of it will bring people in, but if the gameplay is not there, people are gonna the novelty will wear off, I feel pretty quick. And they had just released a little preview video of the game, and it looked like Pokemon with guns, right? That's what everyone's been saying, Pokemon with guns. And I thought it was going to be a shooter. And a lot of people thought it was going to be kind of a meme game. Well, our first story tonight is about this game, Palworld, and it has taken the world by storm. This week, it sold 7 million copies in 5 days. People are raving about it. It's basically a survival game with Pokemon in it. And so you can put the Pokemon to work, helping build up your camp and your base, and then you go out and you fight bigger and better Pokemon. And a lot of people are saying that it's the Pokemon game they kind of always wanted, but Nintendo has never delivered. So there's been a lot of debate about this, a lot of talk, because 7 million, copies it's a $30 game. There's no microtransactions. It's just a passion project by a few guys in Japan. There's a lot of debate right now about a couple things. One, the whole, how much are they infringing upon Pokemon itself, right? If you look at it, a lot of the monsters and the creatures, whatever you want to call them, are very similar, obviously at least inspired by, I would say, by Pokemon. But then there's also a big debate going on about the game itself and how it's not a AAA title and it's actually not that good of a game, and people are just overhyping it. But then there's a whole bunch of people who are saying, no, it's just fun. We don't care about all the stuff. There's a lot of game critics that are saying it's not a good game, and there's a ton of fans who are saying we love it. So there's all these sides of this debate, and it's just exploded in popularity. So I thought it would be cool if we talked about some of that stuff a little bit. Henry?
Yeah, I think, well, one, I don't think we've talked about this before, because before we talked about the fan game that was a Pokemon hunting FPS.
Well,
which was
we did
totally
talk
different.
about it because I went back and
Did we?
checked. Yeah,
Oh,
it's on
I
our
don't
run
remember
sheet
talking about this.
from our very first episode. All it was, hey, this game is going to be coming out. This is what it looks like. That was it. There wasn't much revealed at that point.
But I think one of the bigger things is there seems to be a lot of just fueled hate for it for some reason.
Yes.
Like there was like so many people that were accusing the game of using AI to like generate the Pokemon, and like there's zero foundation for that. There's zero evidence of it. And over the last couple days, I've heard that die down because there's nothing there. There's just a bunch of people that, like, I saw some people claiming that they used like Midjourney. I'm like, Midjourney doesn't make 3D models, so it does. That's not how it works. So even if they did like feed it Pokemon and say make it this way instead, they would still have to redraw it and then model it. Right? They would. It's not going to be just plug and play from AI. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. We were talking about it early, right before we started recording. I really have been looking forward to giving it a shot. I've just been very busy this week because the hype started when I was on vacation. I was like, yo, this looks really cool, actually. I don't know if it's exactly my style of game, but I want to give it a shot. And it's not just Pokemon with guns, because like you don't even get guns for your Pokemon until like
you have to enhance your technology tree. So you have to build up your camp.
It's level 25, I think, is what I heard from one YouTuber. Like, so you gotta like play the game before you can start doing it. And then it becomes like asset management, and it's not just an RPG. And I'll be honest, like the last several Pokemon games have not been fun for me, and I stopped giving a shit pretty quick. So I'm really looking forward to giving this a good solid try. I like the fact there's no microtransactions for it. This seems like the kind of game that would do that, but they're not, and that's like, kudos to you that the bar's that low, but good for that.
Yeah, this I think it separates itself from Pokemon because of like the base building and survival nature of the game, and putting the Pokemon to work for you and all this stuff. It makes it seem like how if Pokemon existed in the real world, how people would use Pokemon.
I mean, they kind of they do it in Pokemon already, where they're like, oh, we utilize Pokemon to do these things, but it's never like how it would really work out, where it's like, nope, you are going to produce stuff for me. And
it would really work.
Well, like I've been watching just so much Asmongold, but I was watching him stream it, and he's just immediately like, all right, you effer, get over here. I need you to eff and do this. He's just treating them like literal slaves. I mean, just being terrible towards these Pokemon, and there's like just a really crazy irony in that. But I think it taps into this, like, people just want to like have fun and freedom in like video games to like do what would be funny or do what would be fun. And it's crazy watching this because I'm like, man, the Pokemon games are really actually like super restrictive, and you can't like do hardly anything, where this is the polar opposite. When I created my character, they have a color picker for your skin. So you could type in like a hex code and get your character to be that color. So I could do a character that's, 600 pounds and it's for the win orange. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, that's cheesy. It's not realistic, but it's fun, and people are like, that's what people want to do right now. They want to have fun in video games.
I mean, Pokemon's not realistic anyway. That's why we're saying this is, this is what one thing that makes this, good, is that it is a little bit more grounded in how it would be. But this also isn't the first time we've seen Pokemon with guns, right? Like, how many Digimon have literal guns? There's literally a Digimon called Gundramon. Have you seen Gundramon?
Well, what about Blastoise?
Yeah, Pokemon itself, Blastoise has got guns. There's a handful of them, but Gundramon has literally 40 guns. He's a dragon made out of 40 guns. His hands are made out of guns. His face is a gun. He's got, it's not new. And if I could, we know guns exist in the world of Pokemon because we have the banned episode of Pokemon where Ash gets a gun pulled on him by the Safari Zone leader. Yeah. And so why aren't they using those on the Pokemon? Why do we got to have a cockfight instead of just well, I want that one and just shoot it? I don't know. It does.
Yeah. It's, you guys think, what do you guys think Nintendo's play is? I'm not talking about legal, because obviously I don't think they have any case, but do you think Nintendo takes notice of this and says, you know what, we need to, there's a hunger for Pokemon that's different. This is let's just, for sake of argument, we want something Pokemon related that's different, and the old formula isn't working anymore.
I don't think Nintendo cares in that regard, because look at how Nintendo is. They don't listen to their fans. They never listen to their fans. They never listen to what the fan reception is. Nintendo does Nintendo things, and so that's just what's going to be. Their legal department is scrambling right now. But 20% legally distinct fighting monsters, sure. And I think they don't have a ground to stand on to sue Pocket Pals. That's who makes it, right? Pocket Pair makes it. Pocket Pair
Pal is the Pal deck. You have, instead of a Pokedex, you have the Pal deck.
So it's Nintendo isn't going to be able to sue them, because they could also be well, this is parody because they got guns. So it's
their logo is almost like Breath of the Wild font.
The company have you seen their previous game?
No,
Pair's previous game? It's a Breath of the Wild clone.
Oh,
full stop. It's a full stop Breath of the Wild clone for PC.
Here's you peel back another layer. It's okay, Nintendo, you want to try and sue them for Pokemon, but let's be real, okay? You didn't invent Krabby, okay? That's a crab. All right. So if anyone could claim copyright, let's just go to God, because Pokemon is just a bunch of animals that they renamed. So what are we even talking about here? If they want to try,
are
and
you
be
telling me that the Pokemon seal is not?
What are we talking about? Yeah, Nintendo's copyrighted every seal that exists. It's that's what?
Why they spelled it differently. Yeah, I remember when fifth grade we seal was a spelling word in 5th grade, and that was the year Pokemon got really popular. My teachers knew, and my teacher kind of follow along, so she knew what the hell her students were talking about. So when she said seal, she's not like the Pokemon. The Pokemon is spelled wrong. And she specifically told us, because we had our spelling pre-test, and so kids
pre-test. I forgot about pre-test.
Sorry. Playing the card game, playing the Game Boy game, right? They're oh, seal, yeah, I know that word. I've read it before playing Pokemon. It's no, they spelled it wrong so they could legally own it.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, there was mods being released for Palworld already, just making it Pokemon, and they got taken down fast. I think at least videos of it got taken down right away.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just like the Pokemon hunting videos got taken down, like what I was talking about earlier, where that fan game that somebody was making, that's gone, and all traces of it have been wiped from the internet.
Yeah, it seems like only Nintendo is able to do that kind of stuff just to make stuff
So
completely
quickly.
disappear.
Nintendo, Disney, there's a handful of companies, but there's those are the two that come to mind when I think about companies that have like a lot of like legal pull when it comes to like protecting their IPs.
Another part of this that came out was Asmongold got into a lot of hot water because they were talking about AI, right? A bunch has come up about Palworld, people saying, oh, they used AI, blah, 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 blah. And it's all just everything that I've read and everything that I've seen. It's all just people kind of grasping at straws to try and make an excuse for like why this game is bad. But he went on another tangent because he was saying, even if they used AI, I don't care because the game is fun. And a lot of people are saying, oh, you hate developers and you hate, the art and all the time and energy and effort that goes into making games. And he was making the point of it doesn't matter if you mean well, it doesn't matter if you work hard, it doesn't matter if, if like the market decides if your game is good, the market decides if it's fun. You don't get to decide that. And he's actually getting a lot of pushback for saying that. Do you guys have any thoughts when it comes to gaming, especially like whether or not that's, I mean, do we feel like part of me doesn't want to be heartless, but also
right, and that view is very it's very just like here and now in the moment. Like nothing matters if the game's fun, and that I think only goes so far, but there are long-term consequences to just thinking that way about things. So I think for the time being, like it's fine as long as the game's fun, who cares? But eventually it'll get to a point where, maybe a market just becomes even more flooded with just like terrible AI games, and it's already kind of bad enough, at least on PC, to like there's so much just like shovelware and just horrible games. And I think for a long time, Steam even wouldn't allow games on the platform that only had one person as like the developer, like a single person, because they didn't want just people churning out this stuff. I can't remember which game broke that. I think it was maybe like Stardew Valley or something like that, or kind of one of those games. But yeah, I think it's a very short-term view to have.
I think so too. I mean, there's a combination, right? So like, I would say that like supporting something, even if it's using AI, isn't saying you don't support developers. If anything, your support, like right now, in this instance, even if this game was using AI, which it's not, it would be supporting a small team of developers that are using AI as a tool to accomplish what they need to do. They don't have enough people on their staff. They're just too small of a company, so they're going to utilize AI to. But they didn't, first and foremost. But in the scenario of what if, there's a balancing act, right? There's definitely a balancing act, and I think AI will just reach a point where it's a tool and it's used, and it's not always all bad. It's not all of it is, and I don't think AI is going to replace everything. So
yeah, the more I kind of learn about it, it seems like the more it's one of those tools where the more effort you put into it, and like the more you put into it, and the more you kind of like quote feed the beast, like the better results you get. And so I think if people are lazily using AI to cut corners and just reduce costs at no matter what. I think that's where we get like the bad products and just the messed up art and all of that stuff.
100%. And that'd be the same, I feel, as like shovelware games that just do asset flipping right now. There's already like issues with like, cheap, shoddy games where they're just going and grabbing, especially because everything just runs on Unity or Unreal now. And there's so many just already available assets. You could just cobble together something. Just like we watched the trailer for that Last of Us ripoff, and like, do you remember that? Like, and like the models weren't looking like matching at all. Like there was like stuff that wasn't to scale because they're just grabbing whatever assets they can get without having to pay for it. So like this sort of thing isn't exactly new. It's just a new flavor of the same thing.
Right. The tweet that got him in hot water was when he said, "The success of Palworld proves that the only thing customers actually care about is a good game. AI, slavery, bestiality, copyright infringement, it's a video game. These are pretend problems that people don't actually care about. Make a good game equals people buy the game. Simple." And he got both sides of it. Got people saying, exactly, couldn't agree more. And then he got people saying, you're spitting on developers who work hard and pour their heart and soul and create games that you love. And so he still, he doubled down. And later he responded, am I wrong about this? Looking at so many people angry with what I said is kind of shocking to me. When you go to market with a product, the only thing that matters is the consumer's perception of that product's value. When did this become wrong? So people are saying he's just like has a money mindset, and a
childlike mindset. I would say it's very it's a very adolescent-esque like way of viewing the sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of games that are great games that don't sell, that don't sell well. Like you could make like a objectively good game and still have it not sell. I think that's totally possible.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen time and time again.
And we see like objectively bad games sell a lot.
Yeah,
like
that's
Call
true.
of Duty.
That's a good
like
point.
Literally broken games sell a lot. Like Master Chief Collection,
Yeah. I think in a little bit of fairness, like people didn't always know they were broken, right? Like a lot of them are kind of gotchas. And so if I would have known that MCC was going to be what MCC was, I would have not bought it. Period. Full stop. If you would have said, hey, just so you know, when you buy this game, you're not going to be able to play any multiplayer, and barely are going to like things are barely going to work. It's going to crash all the, you know what I mean? Obviously I wouldn't have bought that.
So here's a funny story about that. Like when that game was new and I was working at Best Buy at the time, one of my coworkers was buying it, and this was like the launch week or so. And I said,
you said no,
the game doesn't work, right? And he was like, I don't care. And he bought it anyway. I was ringing him up.
Jeez, that's psycho.
I don't care.
I'm just buying. That doesn't make any sense.
It's like, all right, enjoy your coaster, man. Like,
okay, so this just in. I was looking at my phone. Nintendo has officially made a statement about Palworld. The Pokemon Company makes an official statement, and they said, we intend to investigate. The Pokemon Company has finally made, I'm reading from IGN, the Pokemon Company has finally made an official statement regarding Palworld, saying we intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. While the Pokemon Company doesn't specifically mention Palworld by name, it is very clear this statement is in response to the incredible success the survival game is experiencing. So, yeah. Wow.
Play it while you can, people.
Yeah.
20% legally distinct. It's fine.
Yeah.
20% legally distinct.
That's gonna be, oh man, if Nintendo shuts it, let's just play out the scenarios, okay? Scenario A, Nintendo has no case, it fizzles, die, Palworld goes on to become its own IP, make games, do well, blah blah blah. The other scenario, Nintendo somehow wins a court case and has to restrict Palworld, either shuts it down completely, or Palworld has to totally change the look and stylization of everything, change all the monsters. How could this, John, we'll start with you. How could this play out? This is interesting.
Well, the first thing to remember is Pocket Pair is also a Japanese company. Correct. So this would all be happening in Japan, and they have, I believe, much stricter rules than the United States does regarding like fair use and being able to, parody and things like that. So I don't know. I want to say Nintendo has a pretty good track record of getting what they want. So
yeah,
I think that prediction? They want this. I think that they want this shut down. And I think that just from the clips that I've seen, I can look at the pals and know which Pokemon that is.
Yeah.
Like, that is a Zapdos. That is an Articuno. Those are like a couple that I just saw. There was definitely like a Gyarados and like a few others, So me just being able to watch it and be like, that's that Pokemon, that's that Pokemon, that's that Pokemon, Careful. I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
Careful. They could be playing this video in court saying, look at fans of the game. Look at what they're saying. Henry, what are your thoughts?
Most of the Pokemon designs already are actually really not super unique. Yeah, there's some design elements from Pokemon that have been brought onto a lot of the pals. And they might have to change it a little bit more. But I don't know if Japan has stricter rules on parody, because like doujinshi, is like runs rampant there. Like they have like Comic-Con started there with like fan art, like fan comics. So like I think it's actually more lax and from other things that I have seen when it comes to fan adaptions of things that are being sold for money. So not sure how that's going to play out, but I can't see them fully shutting it down. I could see them maybe like mandating some of the pals have to be revised a bit more. But like, there's so many things with Pokemon that are just generic enough. Like, oh, it's a magic giant bird that has ice powers. It's probably going to be blue. And it's a bird, right. So it's got to be a big blue bird. And Nintendo doesn't own magic ice bird monsters. So it's going to look roughly similar a lot of the time. And like a lot of Pokemon is based off of like other stuff, like the trash Pokemon, right? I don't remember what the guy's name is. He's literally like there's a garbage bag full of trash with like a face on it. Or like Mareep is an electric sheep, and that's a reference to the Philip K. Dick book. Like there's only so many Pokemon that are actually really unique. So like I said, in America, it's like a rule of 20% legally distinct, and you can rip things off essentially. So I think Nintendo, this isn't such an open and shut case for Nintendo as it might seem.
Yeah, well, the game's also been around for a while, right? And so now it seems like Nintendo should have known about it already, and now that it's like popular and selling a lot, they're like, "Oh, we're going to investigate this."
Yeah. So like one of the things like an American court is that you have to protect your IP or otherwise it becomes considered generic. So that's why you see sometimes a company crack it down on something that seems like it should be totally fine, but it's like, no, if we don't, we will lose the ownership of it because it's now being deemed generic. So like a monster catching genre with like an electric mouse, yeah, you might need to be a little bit more strict than realistically you should. But I don't know. We've seen how many monster catching Japanese games over the years that are all vaguely Pokemon-esque. A lot of
you
times
remember
with stuff that
Monster Rancher?
Oh yeah, Monster Rancher. Yeah, it's still around. And they had Monster Rancher. Which was more of a Tamagotchi simulator than anything. Then we had Digimon, which is very different in and of itself. There's Robopon, which was Pokemon but with robots instead. We'll see what happens. I think Pocket Pair might need to be a little scared, but not too much. I think it's going to work out.
Pocket Pair, Pocket Monsters.
Well, they have a nice they have a nice little chunk of change now to fight some legal battles. Yeah, no, like actually. And here's what concerns me and gets me excited is we just talked about 7 million purchases in 5 days. People are going nuts for this game. And Nintendo could potentially end up in a situation where they're pitting themselves against the people. And
right, exactly.
I don't know how much
backfire.
It could backfire massively. Let's say they go and in Japan it goes to court and they lose and Palworld has to get shut down full stop. Like that's the worst case scenario. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it probably will, but what if that happens? Then you have 7 million plus, like it's going to be more than that, people, millions of people pissed at Nintendo. I could see hashtag boycott Pokemon happening like that overnight and people being like, no, screw you guys because you're killing the fun. And that could be a very crazy time for for all of it. It just, who knows? Twitch updates their revenue splits policy. These changes include expanding the Partner Plus program to give more streamers access to increased net revenue, shares on paid and gifted subs, eliminating the $100,000 cap for the 70/30 net revenue share recipients. So for those listening at home who don't know, if you made over 100K on Twitch, they would move your deal to like a 50-50.
Yeah, so originally, until you hit the $100,000 in revenue, you were splitting it 70-30 with Twitch, where the streamer got 70 and Twitch got 30. And then they had it where once you surpass that, then it went to a 50-50.
Right. Correct.
So you're losing 20% because you're doing really well on the platform.
Right. So they're trying to be more competitive, which is good. I am all for these streaming platforms duking it out. I love it.
But will this help them make money? I don't know.
Yeah. There was a new monitor that is coming out, a new MSI gaming monitor, and it uses AI to provide serious advantages. It can mark enemies on the screen for you, but here's the kicker: only if they appear on your mini map. So it actually uses the hardware, actually uses AI. It's so crazy. If the video is probably on the screen right now, but it uses AI and it puts like red dots on your map where guys are based on what's going on your mini map. And some people made a point like, yeah, for some games it might not matter, but if you think about like Call of Duty, when you throw a UAV down, which brings up a radar, or heck, maybe even Halo with its radar, then you don't even have to look at the radar. You'll see little red dots flash on your screen the moment an enemy is detected. Now, this has some implications, obviously, as it grows. This is in the early stages, but what do you guys think about this? Because this reminds me of a piece of clear Scotch tape and a Sharpie on your monitor. This is like this is like the evolved version of
this is that if like you could do it instantly and a bunch of times, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit it's not good. This is definitely a horrible use of AI. This is literally cheating. Yeah,
I don't think there's any other way to frame this other than it's cheating.
Yeah, it's literally cheating. Like there's no way to spin this as like,
yeah,
check out this new feature. I mean, it's stuff like this that like it makes it so hard for me to even want to get into multiplayer games again, like competitive multiplayer again. It's just, especially with crossplay,
yeah,
I just can't on my Xbox be playing against PC players. It's just too much.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of following the thread of this, and the kind of nail in the coffin was on this X thread. They were talking about it, and so Dr. Lupo, who he's a big streamer, he was at CES in person, and he saw this monitor, and he replied to this article, and he said, "I saw this in person at CES. It can't do much yet. Once you train it," an MSI rep said, "The best part is that it can't get you banned." When I asked specifically about competitive integrity implications of such a system in FPS games, I want to smash it.
Because it's like on the screen, like it's not interacting with your PC at all or anything.
Yeah. Will there be a way they can detect
yes
this?
and no? Yes and no. So like if you were to go look at your computer settings right now, it could detect what monitor you have hooked up. So it could be
they could just ban this monitor.
Yes, they can. I think it's like EID. I forget what it is exactly, but you can also spoof that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if you just knew how to rename your monitor?
It's not a renaming thing. It's like it's reading like the hardware chipset. Like your Windows is detecting, oh, this is the MSI Cheat Fucker 9000, and and it's gonna like.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, no, for sure.
So like, but you could just spoof that within Windows. Still, you could modify probably through a registry edit, honestly, to get it to read as like a Samsung whatever. There's definitely ways you could get around that. So it's there's no good to come of this whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it won't be used during in-person tournaments and esports events, but here's the reality: is almost, I don't know, I think it's safe to say all or 90% of all video game online competitive qualifiers, they start online. They start that's where they do the pools. That's where they do the qualifying. That's where they do all this stuff. So it's like, what's going to stop someone in Call of Duty, in all these things? And there's money, and there's tons of just online tournaments for thousands, tens of thousands, of dollars. at stake. So this is really gonna this is bad. This is bad. And this is the infant stages. Like, it could get so much better. It could get so much better than what it is. And like competitive integrity.
I'm really disappointed this is from MSI. Like, I'm literally using an MSI gaming laptop right now to talk to you. And it'd be one thing if this was from some like random startup company in like China, right?
Right.
But it's like, oh, we're MSI. We make gaming laptops and other gaming accessories. It's like, oh, so you don't care, like that,
right?
Like,
yeah,
yeah. They want to make money. Xbox launches new Indie Selects program today, actually, January 24th. In the video game section of the Xbox Dash, there is now a permanent hub that showcases indie games chosen by the Xbox team. A new collection featuring various channels and rotating themes will go live every Wednesday. So it kind of harkens to Xbox Live Arcade a little bit when they would actually showcase some of those indie titles, but that's pretty neat. I think it's always good. And if we've learned anything from this week, is that indie developers can they can make big waves.
I mean, think about Minecraft was an indie game, so like there's a lot of good things that come out of the indie developing scene. There's a lot of crap, but there's also a lot of good stuff and a lot of mid stuff, and so it's nice to get any kind of additional showcase on additional games that might have been overlooked.
Yeah. What's your favorite indie game?
Of all time?
All time.
Within recent memory, I don't know if it counts as indie, but I'm gonna say it does because it was like developed by like one dude, and then it got picked up by a bigger Dusk, the boomer shooter retro FPS. Probably like one of the best like indie games I have played. It just absolute solid 10 out of 10 for me.
John, you have a favorite indie game or something about the program that's launched?
Game? Probably one of the most memorable ones I've played in the last handful of years was like Firewatch. That was a pretty fun and kind of it's like a mystery story movie, or not movie, but cinematic kind of game. Had some cool stuff to it, but yeah, other than that, I don't know. I don't play a lot of kind of the indie stuff.
Yeah, I
don't think that I do. Maybe I do, and I just don't know because they're really popular. I don't know.
Yeah. This is a very wholesome story coming out of these past couple of weeks. A mystery Fortnite gamer at Fenway Park has finally been revealed. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but a few weeks ago, videos started circulating online showing someone playing Fortnite on the 62 by 16 foot Jumbotron inside Fenway Park. So much so that even LeBron posted a thing about it saying, "Oh, I want to play Fortnite in Fenway." Anyways, no one knew who it was or what it was, and local news just recently reported the last couple of days that reported the story. It was a professional Fortnite streamer by the name of Clicks. He teamed up with Jimmy Fund to game with a 10-year-old cancer patient, Rami. I hope I say his name. Rami Darling, at the Boston Red Sox home park, which is Fenway Park. So it's actually so wholesome because it's a kid and he loves Fortnite, and they were playing on the big screen. But it's pretty funny because he was like, "Clicks is like, this is really hard," because they're up in like a suite. And they're looking out across. And he's like, this is actually really hard to play. But they actually did get a win. And they employed the strategy by just camping. Clicks was like, all right, we're going to camp and we're gonna get you a win. And they ended up getting a win. So really, really wholesome.
Yeah, they're playing on a screen and like judging by from where they're at, like they're near home plate, so they're playing on a screen that's like 400 feet away or something.
Yeah,
They couldn't have like moved like the console or something like to a better location with, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
It's so far.
it's
just
so
see him
far.
straining with his eyes just to see.
Yeah. Well, and you'd think like that'd be fun, but I'm also like, can we just get like a TV in here? Like
Yeah.
it's clicks that I care about. I don't want to play. I don't care about a giant screen. Like, let's play some real games, maybe.
it's always the novelty, right? Like
Yeah.
of playing on a screen that big. Like I've played games on like a movie theater screen, and it's a horrible experience, but also really cool at the same time.
Yeah. Now
Like
Mario
I got to play
Party.
Halo 2. I did Halo 2 at Fenway Lake High School in the projector in like the theater. I was able to do that. That was
Nice.
cool, but like there was lag. That wasn't fun. And
Yeah, what do you think the lag at Fenway Park Jumbotron? I mean,
that Jumbotron
that's
was
got to
totally
be crazy.
It's not optimized for game input. No way at all.
I know it's optimized for like graphics and then like some motion graphics, and that's it. Yeah. So, anyways, very wholesome though. Big, like, I think it's cool that Clicks did that, and
Yeah,
he didn't feel
definitely.
the need to like even post a bunch of stuff about it. Like, no one knew who it was until local news picked it up. So, pretty cool. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. For sure. Not wholesome. The purge of the gaming industry continues to happen. Money continues to just hemorrhage out of the gaming economy. More layoffs. Riot Games lays off 11% of their workforce this week, which is 530 jobs, 530 people. And within an hour of the announcement, everyone got an email about their position. Crazy, man. Crazy. It's just, I think we're still coming down off of the COVID stuff as far as
the COVID high.
The COVID high. Now they did offer them like a 6 months severance, and they still are giving them access to their emails for 6 months. And I read through the whole thing from the CEO, his whole letter to the employees, and they're actually like hooking them up. I mean, they're not hooking them up. They're losing their jobs, but they're not doing the normal industry things of like, hey, you're cut off. Here's your money. Get out of here. It's like, they're really, you can tell they're kind of going above and beyond to try and help set them up. And they're giving them,
the bar's very low.
Like, yeah, it is very low, but like they're like giving them laptops. Like, if you don't have a laptop, turn in your work one and we'll give you a new laptop, because they said you can't do work. You can't apply for new work without a computer. So here, if you don't have a laptop, we'll give you a laptop. Here's $1,000, bonus. Here's your stock options. They like, obviously it's a terrible situation and no one wants to lose their job. But I did think it was cool that they were like doing some things, because they could just cut them off, but they're not.
Yeah.
Like some of the layoffs we've seen this past month. So anyways.
Yep. When will it stop? We don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Nintendo is switching off the 3DS and Wii U online services on April 8th. So get your last games of Mario Kart 3DS in. That's it. That's the story.
Nothing is forever with that sort of thing. They already did, like, the eShop has been closed down on those. Is it 3DS eShop, or is it just the Wii U eShop that's been shut down? I think both, right?
Yeah. it's crazy that we've lived through so many online services going down.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Like
I'm
with
sure someone's gonna
individual
create some kind of
games
tunnel.
and things. Yeah. Nothing lasts forever. That's why I don't like buying digital things.
Yeah, I think I feel like at some point, like there has to be some regulation. I don't know if the government would ever even care, but to either allow stuff to be like open source or give things away for free or, let everyone download whatever, they need to download before they just shut stuff down. But
yeah. If you paid
or
for
at
it,
least you make it easier for the fans of the service to continue on with it,
Right.
like, okay, we're ending it because we don't want to pay whatever it costs to run it, but fans, go ahead, enjoy it, do whatever you want. But
that's what it's funny because like last week we were like shit talking Ubisoft, but that's what they did with like a bunch of their games that last year they shut down, where if there was a capability for fan servers to run, they like gave them the software to like run it. Unfortunately, the game that me and you, John, really liked from them that got shut down, Rainbow Six Vegas 2, was not in that list to like be given fan support. So there's ways you could do it, and then like you could still play a Dreamcast online right now, which is weird, right? Because there's a lot of fan servers for running like Quake 3 and Phantasy Star Online. So there's ways to do it, but it's so far and few between for it to like happen at a larger scale.
yeah. I didn't think about this either, but the Wii U is like where Super Mario Maker 1, like really took off, and how many tens of thousands of like Mario levels are just going to be gone.
well, last but not least, this is the most staggering thing I think I've seen in video games in a minute. But Valve made about $1 billion on Counter-Strike loot boxes in 2023. Not the game. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about loot boxes. Now, for those at home who don't know what a loot box is, it is essentially a scratch ticket almost, where you buy it. You don't know what's in it. You spend $5, $10, $15. You buy a digital loot box. You open it up, and then like there's a little wheel, and it goes, and you land on something, and that's a piece of gear you get, whether it's a skin for a gun, an actual gun, a knife, like any kind of like digital asset in the game that you can play with. That's what you get. And so people buy these, and they also open them, and they also sell them on a secondhand market as well. And so CSGO CaseTracker.com reported 400,318,000 loot boxes were purchased, which comes out to roughly $980 million spent just in loot boxes. Now, there's a lot to be said about all of this, but what do you guys make of this? Just off the rip.
I want to see a Venn diagram of people that were upset about what Ubisoft said last week about not owning anything, and also the people that have partaken in this bastardization of the gaming industry. I'd like to see that Venn diagram of hypocrites, personally.
Yeah. Yeah. The only way I would ever be okay with this is if they were able to only make the purchases done with like a debit card, or some way to verify that they're paying like cash. Because my concern is people just throwing hundreds of dollars on credit cards, thousands of dollars on credit cards, just buying loot boxes, trying to hit that one that'll just pay for everything, But it's just so much money. I don't even want to think about like the debt people went into to try and get a knife.
Yeah. So
I cannot do that for cosmetic shit. I cannot bring myself to. Doesn't matter how much money is. Doesn't matter how much money I make. It's like I'm not going to do that for cosmetic shit that doesn't like affect anything, like whatsoever.
Because thinking about it, like I'm in Vegas right now, and like the slot machines, the table games, all that stuff doesn't work like unless you have cash. You can't, like, they don't let you just swipe your credit card and play. You can go and like get an advance on your credit card or whatever, that extra step. But this is like, to me, like a worse form of gambling, because you can pay with credit cards and things like that. And yeah, it's worse than just paying cash for gambling.
Yeah, but you only lose if you quit.
Winners never quit.
That's right. Quitters never win. Now,
I saw a stat that 90% of gamblers that quit were one spin away from like a jackpot.
I wonder who made that.
It's not real. Yeah, it is kind of crazy to think that it's kind of like our generation's casino. Like, not a lot of young people go to casinos. And
I mean, they can't.
Yeah, but no. When I say young people, I mean people in their 20s.
But I mean,
I don't know. When I was in Vegas for DEF CON, I was seeing some younger people,
right? But
gambling.
How old do you have to be to get like a debit card or a credit card in the U.S.?
Right.
Like they're sending you that stuff in high school, credit card stuff.
Yeah, and all you have to do is check a box. Of like,
right. So, I mean,
are you over 18? Yes, check the box.
No, they don't even ask that, because like I remember when I was 18 and my girlfriend at the time was 17, she had a credit card. I didn't even have a credit card at the time.
Yeah, I had a credit card way before I was 21.
That's so crazy. The fact that a 17-year-old could get a credit card is insane.
Like I got a Capital One credit card like when I went away to college, at 18.
That's so crazy.
Before 3 years before I could even step foot in a casino, people have the ability to gamble on this kind of stuff because they have credit cards.
Yeah. Yeah. And while there is a 0.0001% chance that you win a knife, you get a knife from a loot box that you can sell for, $50,000 or something. The reality is as long as this game has been out, the better part of a decade, I've seen maybe like 5 clips of people winning that kind of stuff. And it always makes the news because it's a big deal. But other than that, you have, 400,318 people who lost. So, yeah, it's just crazy, man. What, like, this is gaming? That's just blows my mind. Like, what are we doing?
This is slightly off topic, but on topic too. Like, gambling is considered gaming. Like when I was in the Midwest, we would drive by places and there were like bars that call it gaming.
Yeah,
like, they got gaming there, and it's like, no, it's fucking pull tabs and and
Yeah.
shit. That's yeah. I don't know. It's I wonder how many, like, when I was in Vegas, I saw some like people that were just like, you could tell they were just like hooked. Like there's like these three people, they were like two of them were like just sleeping next to these machines, and one of them was like push the button, I pushed the button, and then like you could tell they were just delirious. And like Brett and I, like Brett like put in like $5 and he ended up like winning $400. He's like, hell yeah, dude. And like they're like, well, he doesn't even know what he's doing, because we're like, is that good? Is that good that's doing the thing? We didn't know. It was just like flashing lights, and there was like literally like kittens and shit on the screen. And I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. Like, and they're like, he doesn't even know what he's doing, and he won. They were so upset. And then we walk away with $400, and Brett's like, dinner's on me, dudes. And we're like, sweet. And then like they go to the machine and they're push the button. It's I wonder how many people are like doing that for CS:GO. They have that same zombified like brain rot, man. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
I just can't bring myself to do it.
No, the only thing I've never even gambled on cosmetics before. Even in Halo 5, I didn't spend money on the loot boxes that they had, and the only thing I've ever sold was when I got recon armor for Halo 3. You know, played it at PAX and got the recon for free. I unlocked it, and then someone wanted to buy it off me, so I sold it.
I will say, I think Halo 5 actually did loot boxes right, because you didn't need to spend money. If you were impatient and shitty at the game, you could spend money. But like I unlocked every piece of armor. My Halo 5 is completely opened. Yeah. And I didn't spend a dime. I did buy one cosmetic set. It was like the HCS set. And that's a different story. It was like
and that goes to support the teams as well.
Exactly. That's why I did it. It was like I was like, oh yeah, I'll put money in to support Halo esports. That's what it was for, and you got a skin for it. But like all the other cosmetics, I got with in-game currency. You did not have to spend real money. If you were good at the game and you got in-game currency, you could get the very same loot boxes. I used to play FPS where they had two different types of loot boxes, in-game currency and real-world money, and real-world money had exclusive stuff that was always better. Yeah. And
I would agree. That was one of the bright spots of Halo 5, that you could unlock everything. And so if you wanted to like just progress faster in that regard, you could go ahead and buy it, but you don't have an advantage, and you're not going to get anything that no one else has the possibility to get, because the game's complete. It's all there in the game, you know? So yeah, I respect it. I respect it. Well, season 2 of For the Win is well underway. It's good to be back. Anything else for the good of the pod? No. All right. Well, John's in the bathroom, but we'll say GG's for now. That's all I got.
GG's.
We'll see you next week.